Education and awareness creation among the voting population are integral parts of election preparation. As the 2023 general elections draw near, stakeholders have been voicing out the need for the electorate to go out and elect credible leaders. And even though the stakes are very high this time around, there are many factors that may make or mar the 2023 general elections. Among them, reluctance by the electorate to go and claim their voters' card, insecurity, and beating the drum of war by some political actors. However, it is the mandate of the National Orientation Agency to sensitize and orient Nigerians on their civic responsibilities. And tonight, we are joined by the Director General of the agency, Dr. Garba Abari, as we discuss the 2023 general elections and Nigeria's preparedness. Welcome to the program, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Hamza.
Viewers, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and as usual, I'm your host, Hamza Idris. We will take a short break, and when we return, the discussion of the day commences. Don't go away. Yes, welcome back. We have Dr. Garba Abari in the studio. He's the DG National Orientation Agency. We're happy having you.
I'm happy to be here too.
Yes, campaigns, according to political parties. But many Nigerians believe that campaigns have not started, going by the attitude of the political actors. They are just hurling insults. Your agency is meant to actually, show the way that this is how it should be. What have you been doing so far?
Thank you very much. INEC, the electoral umpire, had already lifted the ban on campaigns and other associated political activities. So by law, we can say that campaigns have started. And of course, indeed, they have started.
Yeah.
We have seen politicians going places. We have seen rallies being held. We have seen town hall meetings being held. We have seen engagement with different stakeholders, with religious leaders, with women groups, with youth groups, with trade associations, professional associations, engagements being held with them by different political actors, especially those who are looking for the votes of the citizens to be either the president or governors. In fact, in some instances, cascading down to senatorial and the House of Representatives candidates. So as far as the law goes, and as far as we are seeing, the campaigns have started. Okay, but what manner of campaigns are we seeing? I think we are seeing two aspects of campaigns. We are seeing the rallies, we are seeing the dances, we are seeing the pasting of posters and what have you. We are also seeing the hurling of insults across parties.
Yeah.
We are seeing gradual sidelining of topical issues that should have been addressed by the political class, especially given the gargantuan nature of problems that the country is facing. But that is not to say, however, that the campaigns are not going on. We would have rather have campaigns that are fundamentally issue-based.
Exactly.
We would have loved to see campaigns that are devoid of violence. We would have loved to see campaigns that are largely devoid of insults. And of course, campaigns that run away from addressing the fundamentals of what what will change the state of things in the country for the better. Have our politicians learned anything?
Yes, that is the question people are really asking.
Have our politicians learned anything? Have they forgotten anything? I think I cannot answer this fully in the affirmative, going by what we are seeing. But what we can only continue to do as pastors and as imams, who will tell you about the sweetness of paradise and the harshness of hell, is to continue to synthesize, to continue to advocate, to continue to draw the attention of the players to please come back on track and ensure that, one, our elections, our campaigns are issue-based, our campaigns are devoid of violence, our campaigns are devoid of insults, our campaigns are essentially not only issue-based, but are the type that will engender the requisite confidence of the electorate going forward, that will lead us to an electoral process that is going to be relaxed, an electoral process that would be inclusive, an electoral process that will bring about about results that are credible, acceptable largely, and seen to be really credible and acceptable. Now, we, the National Orientation Agency, have been doing this. In fact, I would want to seize this opportunity without actually sounding patronizing, to thank Trust TV for airing many of our jingles that are the call on Nigerians and especially the political class
part of our social responsibility,
to play politics according to the rules of the game.
Thank you for the honor. But
now we have, you asked what have we been doing? We do these things in 3 ways. One is one of the things that you people are helping us to do, because we expect the media as principal partners of the NOA to grant a lot of assistance by way of popularizing our jingles, our songs, our jingles, our songs, and of course our flyers, our pliers, and our handbills that all go to appeal to the political actors to ensure that we have a political process that will not lead to any bloodshed and any violence. Already, the land is so crimsoned with the blood of citizens all about the place, and we need not add anything on top of what we are now seeing. So this is so far what the NOA has been doing. Apart from the jingles, we also have been synthesizing the politicians themselves through their political parties. Only 6 weeks ago, we held the All Political Party Summit here in Abuja, which was chaired by the IPAC.
Was it really reported? Because I also have a question on that.
Yeah, because we had
the level of your engagement, especially with political parties.
All the political, of the 16 or 18 political parties, political parties that were that operate. We had 16 in attendance. That is more than. That is more than 80% or thereabout of participation. And of course, it was chaired, or we co-chaired by the IPAC chairman, Yabagisani, and I will also serve as a co-host. You know, we conceded the platform to them because we were concerned that we needed to engage with these people, extract commitment, bring out what they feel are the issues that we need to take to the grassroots. Now, that political party summit was cascaded down to the states. And only this morning, I also had another sensitization program, which started with Jukoi, you know, and of course we are going to replicate this in all the local governments or area councils in the FCT, and try funds available, replicate all of this in the local governments and in the communities. Do not forget.
But doctor, there is this fear that almost all the political parties are starting on a shaky ground. What do I mean? Many of them are in courts now. Do you think that we will have a credible election when the parties are still battling to even recover from all the anomalies that trail their primary elections?
There is no way we can fix the politics of this country and make it as clean as we want it to be without fixing the political parties.
Then where the problem lies?
We must get.
Where is the problem?
We must fix the political parties, because that is the starting point. Parties must be participatory, must be inclusive, must be internally democratic, internally democratic, abide by their own rules and regulations, abide by their constitutions, abide by what the constitution of the country says, subject themselves to the letter and the spirit of the Electoral Act.
Okay.
Unless we are able to get political parties developed into such institutions that will do all of this, we shall continue to gnash our teeth in anger and in anguish. And that is actually fundamentally the problems with all the political parties.
Yes.
All of them. Now, where is the starting point?
Exactly.
The starting point is first and foremost to get political parties see themselves beyond ordinarily platforms for contestation for political office. Ordinarily, but that is all what the political parties have now been reduced to. In terms of ideological clarity, you will have to probably put on glasses much stronger than the ones I am wearing.
Yeah.
Before you can begin to sift what differentiates one.
Party A and B or C.
So the principles, the ideology, the tenets, the values that political parties are supposed to push and to champion must be as clear, you know, as daylight from darkness. But and that is where parties should get themselves mobilized. I mean, get citizens mobilized along ideological preferences, along values, along mores and norms and mores, and parties must also mobilize citizens along the basic principles of public service, which
they have thrown to the dogs.
which will come by way of winning elections. Okay. But when you allow political parties only as platforms for contestation, political office.
But at what point do we miss actually the road?
Well, I perhaps
is it this season or 1999
It's actually something that evolved.
Okay, over time.
It evolved and it got worse over time. Even at a time, even during military rule.
Yeah.
I know in the 90s, when even the military saw the need for parties by decree
Yes.
to be slightly to the left,
Yes.
by decree, slightly
SDP
to
and
the
NRC.
right,
Yeah.
slightly to the left, slightly to the right, you know, by 1999, no, perhaps, but for incessant military interventions, we would have had political parties, mainly 2 or 3, emerging and consolidating and dominating the political landscape by nature of our political ecology.
Okay.
Now, but because the parties themselves have not been allowed
to thrive,
to develop, to internally handle schisms and disagreements, their conflict management processes are weak and faulty, and in many instances ad hoc.
Yeah.
So we don't have really political parties that really evolved, that developed character, that developed an ideological clarity, which would have allowed the citizens to line up behind parties of the right or parties of the left, and therefore, this, if you allow me to go back, partially also explains why we are not seeing issue-based campaigns.
Exactly, because people are saying that's why the first question I asked, that ordinary Nigerians, you know, people working on this, they believe that parties are just trying to sort out themselves up to now, because they are just doing destructive campaigns, not talking about how to better the lives of the citizens. And I think this has compounded your problem at NOAH when it comes to fine-tuning the way and manner which politicians ought to have, you know, started their campaign. Yeah.
It has compounded the problem of the NOA. It has equally compounded the problems of the parties themselves.
Okay.
And let me tell you how. Parties are supposed to articulate interests.
Yeah.
And when the interests are articulated, they get aggregated. And that is why I am still talking about lack of ideological clarity. And therefore, what does Party A say? We will give you electricity. We will ensure we support agriculture. We will create jobs. We will.
Yeah.
Nobody tells you about how the nature of the Nigerian state and its character.
And even some of the promises they are making, how they will get resources.
Can either impact, stall, or promote this. We have a state that is becoming more and more weak by the day.
Oh, sad.
Because the power, the sovereignty of the state, even its legitimacy is being eaten into, you know, by so many, from so many sources. So much so that the capacity of the state itself to contain or to even deliver in terms of both its productive and the distributive capacities is under question. So parties should have realized that before you make promises, you have to also understand the context within which you are making these promises.
Okay.
Job creation, we need it.
But how? Because many of them are
under what
that
circumstances?
Some said he's going to. Some of them said they will provide is it 100 million jobs? So almost all Nigerians will be provided with jobs and all that. And you can see now, many years after, we're still making such promises.
That is true. It still goes, therefore, back to the same issue. We still are grappling with the...
they don't articulate their manifestos
well, of course, the manifestos are there.
Are actually realizable.
Actually, the manifestos are there, but you take each of the manifestos and you read through. You just find a way that a common thread passes through all of them. A common thread passes
what
through all
is that?
of them.
Yeah.
Well, the common thread of just
disowning, you disowning.
Well, not disowning,
like
but making
APC, I don't want to call names of political parties, but here in Daily Trust, we had to fact-check the promises they made in 2015 towards the end of the season, you know. And at the end of the day, and even yesterday, some newspapers, in collaboration with some online media, they fact-checked 26 promises of the ruling party, and they could not, you know, find something tangible to say that, okay, they have delivered. Is this really not an indictment on the so-called ruling parties or the big parties that we have?
Well, I think you also have to put it in context.
Okay.
You also have to put it in context. You have fact-checked.
We are not part of the fact-check, actually.
Okay, but those who must have fact-checked, okay, what indices? Have they put them? Have they put the situation in the true perspective? For example, the issue of massive poverty.
Yeah, and they cited example the recent statistics released by the NBS in collaboration with UNDP and other partners, which said more Nigerians are now poor than they were 2015.
It's not something that is peculiar to Nigeria. We are only worried because Nigeria is our country, but this is a global trend.
Okay.
It's a global trend.
Okay.
From COVID, before COVID, to through COVID, to the other
recession
to
and
other to
the Ukraine war,
the Ukraine-Russia-Ukraine war, the two recessions that the country had passed through, you know, the impact of COVID, you know, the very lean revenue sources, you know, as far in fact in our own case, the very lean revenue sources, you know, against so many challenges of insecurity, of climate change, you know, of massive unemployment, you know, how all of this cumulatively actually impact on lives and the livelihoods.
But you know,
if there are some things like that, let's take for example for me coming from the northeast and particularly Borno and Yobe. Since 2009, except for maybe this year, you know, the destruction to life and the livelihoods as a result of the Boko Haram terrorism activities, you know, terrorism, you know, this is part of the country that even from the national statistics was the most was and still is the most
reported.
No, undeveloped.
Okay.
In terms of all the social development and the economic indices.
Yeah.
Now, we largely relied on agriculture, on fishing, and on animal husbandry. All of these three had been so impacted by the security challenges of the region that people could no longer go to farm, people could not keep animals, people could not go to fish, markets had been closed, roads were closed, movement even into town or into city travel was near impossible.
But
you know,
but
and
so, you see,
all of these are factors. I want to take this only this segment I'm talking about now.
Yeah, the point
only
I'm trying to bring here, considering that I covered the Northeast, is that politicians, they tend to now cite some, anyway, you are a specialist and you are talking, as Noah, a DG. But politicians, while citing some of these difficulties, ahead of election, immediately after election, you see them forgetting all of this. And during elections, still elections all in those places.
Go back again to my earlier statement, which I also asked.
Yeah.
Have our politicians really learned anything, or have they forgotten anything? We still are in search of a political class that is patriotic. We are still in search of a political class that is nationalistic. We are still in search of a political class that is selfless. We are still in search of a political class that understands, appreciates, and imbibes the basic universal principles of public service.
But then how can we get it?
I am not dismissing all.
Okay. Yeah.
There are
exceptions. Yeah.
They are in the minority.
Okay. Is there a nexus, Doctor, as an informed person and your responsibility mobilization? Is there a nexus between voter apathy and then the reluctance? Because some people say it's the reluctance of politicians to deliver services to the people.
There is a nexus. But if you talk about voter apathy, then you also have to work with the statistics and the figures. What is the general global trend in election turnout?
Yeah.
General trend in electoral turnout. And then if you juxtapose this to the case of Nigeria, alongside our population, we still cannot talk about absolute voter apathy. But there are likely going to be, or there is likely going to be, voter apathy in 2023. Not because people are not politically aware of the roles they are expected to play in the political process and the selection of leaders, but because there are also other incendiary issues, that now will impact. When you are in an internally displaced camp, when you are out of your
comfort
zone, or your place of domicile, and you are living in a host community, when you must have been chased away either by the insurgents or by bandits or by, and you don't just look back and begin to look for voters card. You begin to run for dear life, to run with the children or with the aged, and to salvage the very few necessities that you will need to.
So people are not really concerned about election,
that we may expect. There are certain things that we may expect to be to account for low voter turnout, not apathy.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor. We will take a short break now. We'll take a short break.
Okay.
Because I can see you have so many issues to discuss on this, and it has to do with many of the questions we have. We'll take a short break, and when we return, the conversation will continue. Please don't go away.
That's great. Good to see you.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. And remember, you can follow the conversation on our various social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. Before we went a break, we were discussing with Dr. Garba Abari, who is the Director General of National Orientation Agency. And the topic of discussion, increasing voter participation through sensitization, which is the responsibility of the agency you had. When we were young, this MAMSA, we saw vans of MAMSA going to Market Square, town halls, sensitizing people. But things have changed now. And the claim is that MAMSA or NOAA is in all the 774 local government areas. How strong are you? And what are you really doing now ahead of the election?
Well, the era of MAMSA, yes, a massive social mobilization agency.
Yeah.
At the time it was set up, the military had seen the need for it.
Okay.
Even for the purposes of trying to gain for it some degree of legitimacy.
Yes.
And we have seen them in every nook and cranny of the country, adequately funded, logistically supported from top to bottom.
Okay.
Today, the situation has changed. The ecology has changed. The environment has changed. What I mean by the environment, I mean both the social and the political environment, have dramatically changed. The communication strategy and the communication methods
Yes.
have equally changed. In the days of MAMSA, we had only the NTA.
Yeah.
And maybe Radio Kaduna with a massive, very vast outreach all over the country.
Now over 500.
Today, how many radio outlets do we have?
Yeah,
We are
and
talking about hundreds. How many TV stations are we talking about? We are talking of at least slightly less than 100, or maybe more.
Yeah, when you put the two together, over 500.
Over
yeah.
500.
Yes.
And we have also another intervention, which they call the social media.
Yes.
Which has, in your own case, Hamza, a trained journalist, being eaten into, your profession being eaten into by everybody waking up every morning and becoming a journalist.
And I think also affecting your job. Yeah.
Asking, we have not deviated fundamentally from what MAMSA used to do. We still hold town hall meetings.
Okay.
We still hold meetings with critical stakeholders, religious leaders, traditional rulers. We hold meetings in the schools. Now, asking what are we doing in preparation to the election and to elect? This is one of the things that the NOA had produced. This is what we call voter education for sustainable development. It is available in all our state directorates, and it is a handbook that all our COMOs, what we call COMOs, are community mobilization officers. And this handbook of voter education for sustainable development is what has been translated.
Okay, you cascaded it to
because that's why it
languages.
because that's why it matters. I don't have to come and ask you, Hamza, to know if you know the importance of going on an election day to vote. Now, but it's not also, the handbook is not also only about voter education. If we do this, we follow up with so many things. First is the handbill. Let's live in peace.
Okay.
And now what the NOA is
because
doing
candidates and their supporters are just,
so
as we say.
On this,
talking
we have
about violence.
we have brought out clearly what we call the causes of violence during the campaigns. And this we have produced in thousands, in hundreds of thousands, which we are also sharing translating this in different languages. At least in Hausa, I know, in Yoruba we have done, in Igbo we have done, in Pidgin we have done. Now, depending on how much resources we are able to get from partners, we intend to, if it is possible, to translate this into every language that a local government speaks.
Wow. Ahead of the election.
Ahead of the election.
Yeah.
Now, beyond that is actually how to teach also the voters how to go about voting. How do you make your vote count? This is how to vote, how not to vote, how not to vote, how not to vote.
You just use
And this-
generic.
and so, and this is actually what the NOA also has produced.
As part of your
And it's
social responsibility.
Well, actually, part of our sensitization on creating vote awareness against voided votes. You don't forget that there are many instances where elections had to be decided by the courts because of the difference between voided votes
Yeah.
and votes that are not voided. And in order to reduce the number of voided votes,
Propensity of voided
you know,
vote, yeah.
so that we reduce the number of litigation,
Litigations, yeah.
you know, voters must understand what to do. This is also in continuation. Do not allow any spill of ink into another page.
Yeah.
Your thumbprint should not be outside the space.
Yeah.
Just one thumbprint in right place of your ballot paper. You know, you should not vote for 2 parties or 2 candidates. Now, here, an interesting story. There are candidates or there are voters that take, for example, inducement from 2 candidates.
Yes.
So what they usually do, in some instances, such voters are being put on oath. So what they usually do is, instead of voting for one, having taken inducement from 2 people, they will just invalidate the vote by voting.
Oh my God.
For 2 candidates.
After compromising themselves using it.
So these are actually things that we have found.
But Doctor, beyond this is the issue of funding, because if you look at your responsibility, very huge. And if you don't succeed, I don't think if INEC will also succeed. How buoyant are you in the agency, and what are your expectations?
Perhaps I am the most underfunded agency of government in the whole of this country. I have a total, from the headquarters to the states to the local government, I have a total of 813 offices. And I have a staff strength of nearly 5,000.
5,000?
Nearly. You know? And we don't have funds.
Then how are you
We
going
don't
to
have
do
funds. We don't have funds. We don't have operational vehicles. We don't have good working conditions.
Is it that you don't make case, you don't ask? Because, yeah.
We don't have good working conditions in many of the states and in the local governments. So what we do is we go and look from what we are able to get from the orthodox budget line, we complement by looking for partnerships. For example, some of the things we have been doing for us have not paid you. Some of the things that the NTA has been doing for us have not been able to pay. Some of the things that the FRCN has been able to do, I've not been able to say. But I cannot go to other private television stations and ask them to do that, because they will say, you are a government agency, you are supposed to be funded, so for some of the things that you will do, you will have to pay. Or if I take jingles, for example, they'll say, okay, we will air one pro bono, and then you will have to pay for 2 or 3.
Yes.
So, and I don't have the funds. So what we do is we actually try to go into partnership.
Okay.
You know, with some.
And this is your initiative.
Maybe we get donors. You know, maybe we look at some civil society organizations that have funds that are working in the area of electoral credibility, electoral issues generally. And we enter into some partnerships.
You see,
but in terms of funding,
yeah,
the funding requirement is massive, simply because the cost of everything
Yeah,
has gone up.
high. Yeah.
And the requirement is massive.
So this is where my fear lies, because you're supposed to counter
We do the
something
best we
like
can.
fake news, doctor. Fake news, even the Minister of Information says, is one of the major things that may compromise the 2023 general election. And for you to counter fake information, you really need serious resources. What is your take on this?
Well, we are doing.
Okay.
We have done and we are still doing a lot in the area of trying to counter fake news and the misinformation.
Yeah.
This is Noah's say no to fake news and the hate speeches. Now, in our 2021 to 2026 5-year strategy plan,
Yes.
under Pillar 2, peace
Okay.
building.
Okay.
Peace building. The National Orientation Agency intends to train 37,000 fact checkers across the country.
37,000.
37,000 fact checkers across the country. And this is because we have realized that the era of the social media has come to stay. The social media is a reality. It provides opportunities. It provides. It also provides, aside opportunities, it also can be a source of destabilization.
Yeah.
So far, we have done 8 training sessions of more than, in 2022 alone, more than 1,200 fact checkers cutting across different sectors.
Are they volunteers or how?
Well, we get volunteers and we also find people to come and we get them trained. We do that in partnership with the Center for Democracy and Development.
Okay. Okay.
And with Premium Times, Center for Investigative Journalism and Dubawa. You know,
Yeah.
and these are all credible sources of credible partners, you know, who have brought a lot of experience. We are also trying to broaden the partnership with the African Center for Investigative Journalism, so that we begin to expand the frontiers of this training.
Yeah.
But then we also have held so many engagement with bloggers and with social media, not bloggers, social media handlers that have massive followership. Because the issue here is, beyond, people must have to understand that there is really the need to keep the peace, to make the country stable, not to sit on the news, but to responsibly report it. Not to sit on the news,
Yeah.
but to responsibly report it.
Not to mislead.
Not to mislead, and not to cause sensation, and not to put pecuniary interests over and above national interest.
Yes. Okay. National.
Because the issue is, people who feel that when any trouble or katakata begins, they will just sit down and watch either the disintegration or the conflagration from the comfort of their homes. It doesn't happen like this. Once trouble begins, nobody knows who will be safe and who will be consumed by it.
Yeah.
So better not start it. And the only way to do it is to be responsible citizens, responsible practitioners,
Yes.
you know, responsible citizens, responsible practitioners, and the responsible citizens police.
Okay, Doctor, in May, INEC said over 20 million voters' cards have not been collected. I'm sure the figure must have gone higher now, going by the number of people that have been registered. But on the other side, we've seen the recovery of dozens of voters' cards dumped, you know, somewhere. Where is really the problem? People are reluctant to collect their voters' card. What is the problem? And then who is behind the mopping up of voters' cards? Because people are feeling that this is another great danger.
Perhaps perhaps politicians and their surrogates, perhaps.
To achieve what?
Perhaps
Yeah.
to achieve electoral advantage. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
unfortunately or fortunately, but I would rather say fortunately, the INEC has given all assurances that it is not going to be business as usual as far as 2023 elections are concerned. Two things: electronic transfer of results and the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system, the VIVAS. So this is actually a very serious game changer. That what I still feel that both INEC, NOAA, and the political parties need to do
Yes.
is to have this triumvirate of partnership, triumvirate of relation, to further engage citizens to go and collect their voters' card. Now, perhaps some of the voters' cards must have been produced on account of multiple registration, perhaps. So maybe that could amount for that such large number. Maybe security concerns, you know, as a result of internal displacement and the general state of insecurity had kept people away from going to collect their voters' card. But we still have clear 3 months before the elections.
And the
voters' cards that are still there and ready, you know, can still be collected. And that is where we use, where we need the partnership with traditional and religious leaders. But the political parties themselves must also have to come out and sensitize their followers. It's not enough to just go and mount the rostrum and be shouting, we will do this, we will do that for you. You know, when you don't tell your party members or your party supporters or your party sympathizers or even those who are on the fence as at now,
yes,
and have not decided on which party to vote for, not to go and collect their
How worried are you with the attitude of the political actors? Because many of them are now regional champions, but your agency is meant to, you know, lead the crusade towards having national unity.
I'm not sure if you are right on that, and I would rather not comment. How do you call that? They are looking. They are going around all over the country looking for votes, but you cannot be a regional. You cannot be a regional champion without and become the president of the country.
Because some of the parties don't have national coverage, so you see their leaders now, you know, talking even in language when they go to where they know they will have favorable disposition. You see them whipping up this ethnic and religious sentiment.
You see, the beauty of democracy is, in many climes, and of course I know it, one day it can get there. You know, parties are always conscious of their strength and their weaknesses. You know, and it still now comes down to the same issue of lack of character differentiation, ideological differentiation, value differentiation, and what have you between the parties. You know, there would have been perhaps political parties that should be built, nurtured, mobilize citizens, around, say, maybe clearing the mass of non-biodegradable waste in this country with all its concomitant effect. Maybe aligning it to climate change and the dangers of this non-biodegradable materials, the dangers that these materials are causing on our farmlands. And on how they are blocking blockages, and how these blockages are accentuating the flooding, and how this, as a result of which we have a lot of stagnant water and therefore breeding places for all sorts of bacteria, mosquitoes, you know, and malaria affliction and what have you and what have you.
Yeah.
What about parties maybe that that can look at any other issue of concern, you know, the environment.
So if I understand, you are talking about they should be
so
ideological.
So smaller parties don't have to look for presidency.
Okay.
Smaller parties don't have to go, because there are many political parties that have not even what can I say? Fielded candidates
for councillorship.
For all the senatorial zones,
exactly.
or for all the 360 House of Representative seats.
It's a serious problem.
So,
you are opening another chapter. I wish we have the time to discuss this so that we advise the political parties maybe to take it mildly so that they can make sense.
No, there can be
again.
specialized parties that can appeal to citizens on certain issues of national concern.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Very interesting conversation, but the time not on our side. We thank you very much, Dr. Garba Abari, DG National Orientation Agency, for coming to the program. Viewers, that's a wrap on today's program, which we hope you enjoy watching. Thanks for being with us. Join us again for another edition. For now, bye-bye. I am Hamza Idris.